The final piece of the 7¼ frame printing. This is good. This is a 12-hour mammoth print. We'll keep checking in on it, and then once it's done, we'll crack on with the assembly. 2.5-hour update. We've got a funny bottom edge, but mostly doing fine. There should be plenty enough for what we want. It's 7 hours in, just over halfway. While this final part is printing, we'll take a look at what we've already got. This is the corner we saw in the previous video compared to the 3.5. This is the opposite corner. These are the halfway parts. You see, they are male and female. This cutout, can you see it in the light? The cutout there is for an axle, so that goes on the underside. But we have a problem, which means I have the wrong one. Okay, yes, I stopped to lay it all out, and this is what we have so far. Now, the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice we're also missing the diagonal from there. So I will have to print that afterwards. Not quite the final part of the print, I thought. But what I'm about to do is change camera angle. And you'll watch me tidy this all up, click it all together, and work out the state of play. As you can see, it's quite a large beast. It holds itself together well. Now, one thing I've noticed, that this was designed for the 5-inch scale, and likewise all the clearances were designed for the 5-inch scale, so consequently some of this is a little bit loose on itself. Some of these joints aren't as tight as they could be, and do just pop up and down. Whereas the opposite was true for the 3.5, which demonstrates the scale difference here, where all the parts on this were very tight to each other because the clearances were that much tighter. And when it came to the same joints under here, they more or less had to be hammered together. I literally had to use a hammer to get these parts flush. Whereas the same connections on here are so easy to push together because the clearance is that much more. On the 5-inch they push together with a bit of force, but they don't need a hammer and they don't slide in and out. So I know I said these were hammered, but these are also glued. These will definitely be glued, because the last thing we want is to actually find somewhere to run this 7.5, this 7.25, wagon, and then we get halfway around and the thing falls apart because I scaled it up. But what it does do quite nicely is for exactly the same parts, the only difference on the 3.5 is these bits are a single print as opposed to two. It does quite nicely demonstrate the literal scale difference. If I park this in one corner, you can see it comes to halfway because there's the halfway join, because 7.25 is more or less double 3.5. So that is a 70% scale factor of 5. This is 145% scale factor of 5. Pretty much double. As if to illustrate the point further of the size difference, wheel centre, swamps it, looks about right. And again, the buffers. The only reason the 5-inch one isn't down here is always lack of space on my little square of worktop. And once they are all assembled, the idea being, the reason I did the 3 scales is to demonstrate the size difference. So by my rough working outs, when this bad boy is done, I should be able to put the 5-inch one inside it and then put the 3.5 inside that, which should look quite cool as a display piece. But in itself, this is reasonably strong. The prints aren't too bad. You can see I've been playing with the settings and different, which is mostly out the same plastic roll. It's pretty good. There are some things to hide, some slightly melted looking corners, but on the whole, not bad. It has just it struck me how big the finished thing is going to be. As I said, these cutouts and the equivalent here are for the axle boxes, which once the frame's done, the axle boxes and guides will be my next job. To finish off the black roll earlier, as you can see I'm now in white. I did print the keeps, and again, the size difference. So we ended up with a bit of a zebra wagon, black plastic and white plastic, like the 5-inch one. The 3.5 was small enough to get it all out of a black roll. But we'll come back to this when I bang that final piece in. It is complete. This part just came off the printer, went straight in. And it is very strong. Very solid, very... It weighs about as much as that does. With everything it's got on it, it's just about the weight of this. Remember, that's a 12-hour print. 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12. These are about 4.5 to 5 hours, depends on if it's an angled or a straight. These are just shy of 2 hours each, with a buffer head. Currently lining up on the printer, which will be the follow-up video to this project, axle box guide. Stay tuned for getting the planks for this, the bearings and axles for the 5-inch wagon, and then carrying on with the 7.25.